Hello, my name is Abdullah. A lot of people still know me as Constantin or Costin because this is the name I was born with. I am 21 years old. I am from Romania and I am currently studying law in the University of Bucharest. I just finished my third year. I actually finished it in Istanbul because I studied with Erasmus. And I am passing in my fourth and final year right now. And I have officially been a Muslim for almost 1 full year now. Because I reverted last year in August. And I will explain in my story why I say officially. Because actually I have done some things for longer than 1 year. I grew up in a very small city in the north of Romania. The name of the city is Fălticeni. There are about 20,000 people in it, and it's a very monotone, very simple city. Like, there are just Romanians, a couple of Roma people, and that's it pretty much. There is no diversity. So growing up, I was not exposed to a lot of multicultural things. I just knew about Christianity, white people, and that's it. But I started researching by myself on the internet, because actually I started learning English since kindergarten. So at that time I realized it's a very important language if you want to understand the internet, which is why I felt it's very important for me to learn it. Because my parents were quite busy, I just took it upon myself to learn from the internet. This had good sides and bad sides. Like, the good sides was that I was able from a very young age to document myself on a lot of topics, on science and language. But the bad sides, I was exposed to Western culture from a young age, and all of these ideas about marriage is bad and these kind of things, like they don't want you to have children and you need to accept LGBT ideas. I was exposed to all of this from a young age, and I started thinking this way, like in a Western way. So also growing up in school in Romania, we have a religion course. It is not mandatory, but pretty much 99% of children do it because their parents, they just sign it. They want their child to learn about Christianity. And since an early age, I started questioning things because I thought the course is very strange. The things that were being taught didn't make sense to me. Besides, I started questioning these things in school. Also, I wasn't going to church very often. My family didn't go, just for big holidays like Easter or Christmas. In Christianity, in Orthodox Christianity, there is a ritual where you fast for a few days or a few weeks, but it's a different fast, not like the Islamic one. Then you go to the church and you confess your sins to the priest, and the priest will make a decision if he forgives you or not. So when I was young, every time the priest would forgive me, there was no issue. But in middle school, I think I was maybe 14 years old, I did this same thing. I fasted, I went to church, but to my surprise, After I told him my sins, he said, "No, I cannot accept this. Your sins are not forgiven." And I think this was very traumatic for me, because it's a very embarrassing moment. All the other people in the church, they can see you, they can hear this, that your sins are not forgiven, and all of them, they start gossiping and wondering, oh my God, what did this child do? Why, what is so bad that the priest didn't accept? So since that moment, I stopped going to church. I never went back. It really upset me, and besides the strange things in the religion course, now I was convinced that this religion is wrong, the Christianity. It is fundamentally wrong. So I started to research by myself more and more because I already had this skill I was already used to search on the internet and read a lot of things every day. Also around this age in middle school and high school, I really liked the Arabic language. I didn't have any deep knowledge about Islam, just what the media portrayed about it. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it's like just about terrorism and these things. But I didn't have deep knowledge. So, as I said, there was no Muslims in my city, so I didn't know. But I started to research on some kind of blogs about Arabic language because I was interested in this. And I inevitably, on these blogs, I also saw things about Islam. Maybe some ayah from the Quran or some of these kinds of things, and it impressed me, the messages that were written in the Quran. I thought they were very beautiful. I never read the Bible before, just the passages from which we learned in school, but they never impressed me the way that these ayahs impressed me. Also, I was very impressed by these ayahs on the internet, but I didn't know where to find out more about this. I searched on the maps if there are any mosques near to me. The nearest one to my house was 100 kilometers away, and at the time I couldn't drive. I was still young, I didn't know what to say to my parents. I couldn't. But actually, while I was still in high school, my mom went to a business trip to Bucharest, and I went with her. While she was busy, I went to a mosque. I just went in. I was alone. So I went just in front of the mosque, but I was too afraid to enter because I thought to myself, I don't know anything. I don't know how to pray. I don't know. I didn't even know that you need to take off your shoes before you enter. So I was too scared to go. So I went back to the hotel, and at that time I stopped. I just thought to myself, I will go another time. Then I finished high school. In the first year of university, nothing really happened in terms of finding more about Islam, because there were a lot of new friends from university, and they were, I think, a bad influence, because they were always partying and drinking alcohol, doing these things. So they also wanted me to do it with them. But actually, another thing about me, I never liked alcohol even before I was Muslim. In church, I always had a problem with this, because they actually they make you drink some wine in church, and it was very disgusting for me. So in university, I just, in the first year nothing happened. Then after I finished, in the summer between the first and second year, I lived in a international dormitory, and there were a lot of people there, from Vietnam, from Syria, all over the world. Also in the first month nothing happened. There were some Muslims, but not really practicing Muslims. They were drinking, smoking every time. That's all I saw. But right before I moved out of this dormitory, someone new came. He is actually my best friend now. His name is Nabil. He moved from Syria to Romania for studying, and he is a very good Muslim. So in these days, the last days of mine in the dormitory, I spent a lot of time with him. I saw his Quran, I read it a little bit, because I already knew the Arabic letters. I studied them on my own. And also I saw him praying. I was very impressed when I saw him praying, because I thought he is very devoted to his religion. I never saw Christian people pray outside of the church. After that, after I saw him pray, I asked him one time, can we please go to the mosque together? So he was a little bit shocked, but he agreed. So after a few days we went to the mosque for Maghrib pray, for Aksham. Also I was very scared, but I knew at least there is someone with me right now. So we just went to the mosque. He said, just look at me. I didn't know anything. He said, just look at me and follow me. So we prayed together, and I met a lot of people that day, and that they are still my best friends to this day. A lot of people from Palestine, from Syria, from Egypt. And we just spoke. I got to know the imams there. There is also one imam from Turkey, from Samsun actually. And I told him I want to learn how to read Quran. He said, okay, you can just come to this mosque and I will teach you. So from this day, I continued going to the mosque even by myself. I was going usually for Fajr, because it was, my schedule was busy with all the courses, all the homework. But I was going in the morning, and after the prayer, Turkish imam, he was teaching me how to read Quran. We were reading maybe one page every day. And so at this point, I was going to the mosque regularly, not every day, but every week, a couple of times a week. But I haven't said the Shahada yet. Like, I wasn't officially a Muslim. All the people, they were telling me, you don't have to rush it. If you feel ready, just do it. Actually, I felt ready, but what kept me from saying it was my family, because they knew I was doing this. I told them I go to the mosque, I read Quran, and my mom just said, it's a very big change, you need to think more about it, you cannot just say it. I myself, I was feeling ready, but because of her, I decided to wait. Also, besides of this, I was still feeling a little bit conflicted about the Western ideas that were in my head since I was a child. Because I realized at the time, you cannot balance these things with Islam. Like, I was thinking about the way people in the West think about men having 4 wives and they say it's a problem. Also the way LGBT people were treated in Islam. All of these things, they were making me question a little bit and making me unsure, because I was at a point where I was trying to balance these things, the Western ideology and Islam. But I quickly realized it's not really possible. You need to choose one or the other. And then I felt remorseful. I felt sorry that I questioned these things, because I realized in the end the Muslim way of thinking is the correct one. But still I wasn't thinking about converting. I didn't really have any plans about it. So the second year of university ended like this. I was still in between, like this, not an official Muslim. So in the summer, between the second and third year, my family said we should go on a trip to Egypt. But actually I went just me and my brother. All my family didn't come. Also, I didn't have any plans about Islam in Egypt. I didn't know what it is like. It was the first Muslim country I went to. But after arriving there, the very next day, I decided to go to the mosque to pray Dhuhr. I just went to the nearest mosque, and when I arrived it was empty. I was a little worried because there were just 3 people and me. So we just prayed, and after that they noticed I am a foreigner, so they wanted to talk to me. I told them my story and I said I am not Muslim, but I like this religion. They told me it is not possible for me to know when death will come, like it is unforeseeable. They told me something like maybe your plane will crash and you will not be back to Romania. And what will you do if that happens and you are not a Muslim yet? At that moment I realized the importance of becoming a Muslim. I just decided to say the Shahada right at that moment. This was last August in Egypt. Actually, in Egypt I didn't experience a lot of things because it wasn't like Cairo or a big city. It was just a small city on the seashore, like Hurghada is the name of this city. It's just for like summer vacation. But they have a lot of Islamic centers like Istanbul. Anyway, I think all over the world, after I became Muslim, it feels like you have a family wherever you go. You are never lonely. So now I'm not afraid to travel anywhere, even by myself. Because it's like any city you go to, if you go to the local mosque, it's like you already know everybody there. After I was disappointed about Christianity because of the priests and these things, I was still believing that there is a God. I didn't say I am Christian because of the way the priest does these things. But what was missing from this was the community. There wasn't any kind of community or guidance. Like, if I wanted to pray, I didn't know what to do. If I wanted to know what is permissible and what is forbidden, I didn't know who to ask, who to believe. And so this is what I needed in my life. Before I was a Muslim, if I had problems like depression or sadness, I didn't really know how to deal with it. In the past, I did go to a psychologist and she helped me, but there were also things that she did wrong, in the sense that she didn't agree to the Muslim ideas, but rather to the Western ones. So she was guiding me according to this Western ideology. Also, one time I was prescribed medication for this, and I think it wasn't necessary, just for depression. I think if you are a Muslim, you can also fight this in other ways. You do not need to take medication, because I think sometimes it can hurt you more than it helps you. So before I converted, I was feeling unsure. Every time I made a decision, I needed to ask someone else to see what they believe. Now, after conversion, I feel much more independent, and I am sure about my decisions. And also before, I felt like there wasn't really any meaning in my life, because I didn't think about the future. I was just thinking about career and money and these kind of things. I didn't want a family, I didn't want to marry. But actually, right after I converted, I started to think about these things. Like, it was like my mind changed. I cannot explain it. But it was like this in Egypt. The next day after I said the Shahada, I just woke up like with a different mindset about my future. I wanted to have a family, to have children. I never had these thoughts in the past. So I think this is like a miracle from Allah. So while I was still in my hometown, because there were no Islamic centers, I was just using the internet, books, articles, blogs, and also some videos. But after I moved to Bucharest, there was a mosque, an Islamic center, and also a lot of friends with who I could talk about these topics if I needed any help. Actually, not all of my friends or all of my family know, but at first when I told my mom, she was shocked. She just didn't know a lot about Islam, so this is why. She was a bit scared for me, because she had this idea from the Western media. But actually she traveled to Istanbul 1 month ago, and her thinking completely changed, and now she is very happy that I am Muslim. My friends, not a lot of them know, but the ones that do, they are fine with it. They don't have any issues. Other people in my family also, they are okay with it. They are happy for me that I found this religion, this community that aligns with me, where I feel like I belong. Yes, after I reverted, my friend Nabil was the first one who helped me, and also the other people in the mosque and the imams. They were always there for me if I needed to ask something. The first thing was that I started praying and being more aware of God in my everyday life. Also, staying away from prohibited things, from haram. I wasn't really doing anything bad before reverting, but I was more careful now after I reverted. And also trying to help people much more, not being selfish about myself, trying to help with anything I can. So, as life in general, my perspective shifted in regards to family life and wanting to have one, because before I reverted, I didn't. I was just having this way of thinking. A lot of European people think like this, unfortunately. And like they just want maybe to have a cat or a dog and work, and so this way they can keep all the money for themselves. They don't need to buy food for their wife or their children. I was thinking like this before, but now I want to marry and I want to have children so that I can teach them the values, the Muslim values of life, so that also hopefully they can learn more than I did and one day be better than me. Actually, before I discovered Islam, I had this feeling that I have a need to pray, but because I didn't know about Muslims or the Islamic culture, I didn't know how many times, I didn't know anything. But because of this, when I found out that you need to do it 5 times and how, at what time, I didn't feel it's very hard, because there is this need for the human to communicate with Allah. And also, I felt like many times when I prayed for something, when I asked Allah for something, it came true. So I knew it is a necessity in our lives to do this. Yes, I also have some days when maybe I don't wake up for the morning prayer. I am also I am a human and I make mistakes like this, but I try to do my best. Actually, this year I did it for the first time, and I didn't find it very hard. I think it is a good thing for your body to have a break. It's hard to choose one. But I think this lack of community that I felt in my hometown, I didn't feel that anyone wants to help you or to teach you something. This is what made me want to belong the most to Islam, because all people help each other like they are from the same family. Actually, in Turkey, I didn't experience any problems, but in Romania, it's hard sometimes to find a place to pray, to explain to people when maybe one of your colleagues from university who is a girl, she wants to hug you or to do something, to shake your hand, and it's hard to explain you cannot do this because they don't understand, and then they don't want to talk to you anymore. They think you are strange. But it's not very hard because there are other Muslim students. Actually, in my university, I don't think there is any other Muslim students. I mean, in faculty of law, but in the other departments, there are some. Muslims. They face the same problems. I think people should not rush things. They should take everything step by step. There are still things that I am learning that I didn't know before about Islam. So it's not like I learned everything in one day after I reverted. And also I think they should look at many sources when questioning something, because sometimes maybe my friends told me something and later I found out it was not true. And also I told them, and they ended up learning from me the correct way. Another advice I would have is that new Muslims should not forget that we should try to spread our religion as much as possible, and try to invite people to explain it to them that it's not like the Western media portrays it. If people in the West, they really got to know Islam, how it is in a Muslim country, they would completely change their mind about it. So we have to work on this. To normal Muslims, I would just say to continue doing what they do best, to try their best to respect Islam, and to help new reverts, but also don't be harsh on them if they make mistakes. There are some Muslims that get very offended when it comes to a revert making a mistake or things like this. You should explain everything in a calm way.